Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we are reacting to another TikTok. I had a couple of you send me this one, understandably so. I think this is a topic that a lot of people have very strong opinions on. I see a lot of content surrounding this topic. It is often pretty toxic, especially the ones that I see over on TikTok. So I'm gonna give you my take on it. We're gonna watch it together, reconvene, and get into it. So let's get started. Here we go. It says, I was racking my brain on how a grown man can make his girl pay 50-50.
I was like racking my brain on how someone like this can even exist. And then I found out she's from Manitoba.
It says, and then I found out she's not his dream girl. As you can probably assume, I have a lot of thoughts. This is in no way sending hate to this specific creator. I see a lot of content about this topic, and this was just kind of the example that I wanted to use because this is often the thing that I see a lot. It's not always following these trends or these quick little whatever funny things they're supposed to be. A lot of this advice is serious and they mean it. And I think there's issues with this for a lot of reasons. Everyone is allowed to have their own preferences when it comes to dating, and that's your prerogative. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I do think there's some issues here. So I'm going to break this down. We're going to talk about a few different things and just go over this together. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this message creates unrealistic expectations. I understand wanting to be with a man who is financially independent and responsible, so I'm absolutely not arguing that. I get it. Money is the number one cause of divorce. So understandably something that you would consider when you're going into dating someone or marriage. However, I believe this idea that if a man is not paying for absolutely everything, it automatically means that he sucks or he doesn't love you or see you as his dream girl. I think this is just beyond silly. If you're both making the same amount or similar incomes, for example, how on earth could you expect your partner to pay for absolutely everything? Like, what is your money going towards? I totally understand this from the perspective of you're a stay-at-home mom and you contribute to the household in other ways that are not financially, right? But if you're a working woman making a great income, you're financially independent, you're an independent boss babe that don't need no man, how is it fair to then make someone pay for all of your stuff? And I know that's not what the girl in the video was saying. I'm going to get into that in a little bit here. And this is where I often hear women make the argument of, well, I have to pay more for my personal upkeep and the way that I look than men do. Okay, but nobody's forcing you to get your nails done every 2 weeks or your eyelash extensions done, right? Those typically don't look good anyway. That's a lame excuse. And I'll just give you an example here. I personally spend a lot of money per month on personal upkeep, on getting my hair done, on getting my nails done, on my personal trainer. Like, there are a lot of things I pay for to keep up with myself and make sure that I look nice, far more than my fiance does. But when it comes to bills and things that we are both doing or both enjoying or both have to buy, it wouldn't be fair for me to say, okay, well, you have to pay all of our rent because I have a personal trainer. Unless he's telling me you need a personal trainer or you need to get your nails done or I'm not going to be with you, then it's like, okay, I'm just going to pay for it myself. If you were with a guy who was forcing you to get all these things done, then okay, it would make sense why he would be paying for it. But other than that, it's not really an excuse. It is unrealistic to think that our partner should be funding every aspect of our lives, especially when you're not married. And I also want to make this very clear. Wanting to be with a man who is a provider is very different than just wanting a man to be your ATM. Please understand this. Being 20, 21, or even 25, expecting your boyfriend to pay for all of your stuff because you saw a girl on TikTok say, if you split bills or split things 50-50, it means that you're not with a grown man, or you're not with a real man, or you're definitely not his dream girl, makes me incredibly sad. If you're dating a man in his 20s who is in the process of building his life and setting himself up for his future, maybe he's in school, maybe he's only a few years into his career and he's just starting out. To expect him to be doing all of this and then also be paying for all of your stuff is just beyond unrealistic. It's delusional. There is a healthy way to teach girls to set boundaries and to have healthy standards for themselves that don't include making people feel bad or neglecting the fact that not everyone has the means to fund a luxury lifestyle or pay for absolutely everything for their partner. And standards are also very different than preferences. Let's not forget that either. Again, I would hate for a young, impressionable girl to see this and ruin something with a wonderful guy because of bad advice that she heard from TikTok. This narrative is just creating incredibly unhealthy and unrealistic expectations for women, and also what they should be looking for and valuing within a relationship, which leads me into my next point here. And it's this idea that we should be valuing money over absolutely everything else. The truth is that there are far more important things to be looking for in a relationship rather than how much money a man makes, if he's paying for your nails or funding your entire life. Do your core values align? What about your morals and your life goals? These things are far more important to consider and are actually what standards are, not preferences. And I also want to talk about the fact that just because a man pays for all of your stuff and doesn't go 50-50 doesn't automatically mean he loves you more. It doesn't mean that he's treating you well at all, actually. And if this is the main variable that we're basing how someone feels about us on, well, quite frankly, I think we're screwed. This type of content is often interpreted as how much money he makes and how much he buys for me equals he's treating me well, which just isn't true. Sometimes the men who take you to the nicest, most fancy places, pay your bills, and buy you things are actually the ones who end up treating you the worst. And again, looking for someone who is financially independent and responsible should be the goal here, not someone who is just going to pay for all of your stuff. I also want to talk about median income here for a second and bring everybody back down to earth and talk about the reality. The median income in the United States is approximately $54,000 a year. One person in the relationship paying for absolutely everything is sadly not in the cards for most people, and in no way, shape, or form does this mean that a man doesn't love you or you're not his dream girl. You are a team. Sometimes that means taking on different roles where one is the provider and one stays at home with the kids and doesn't, contribute financially. Yes, I hope I'm able to do that one day. But sometimes it means that both of you tackle things together and split costs so that you can build your wealth together. It's a partnership for a reason. And speaking from my own personal experience here, it has been the most rewarding experience to build a life together with my fiance, and that has included our finances. How did we get here? By sharing costs and doing it as a team. Our 20s are a time where we're often building our life. We're figuring things out. We're getting into our career. We're figuring out what we want to do long term, how we can make money in other ways. Like, you are quite literally building your life, and even into your 30s for a lot of people. Some people are late bloomers and don't figure it out until a little bit later, and that's okay. But to expect someone to be doing this and also funding your entire life and looking down on people who go 50-50 or who split things in a different way isn't healthy, it's not productive, and it's quite literally toxic. I don't like to use that word a lot because I think it's overused, but in this scenario, I do think it can be harmful to view relationships and just human experiences in such a black and white way. And to tell young women that if you're paying for anything in your relationship, it means that you're dating a loser or a guy who doesn't really love you or doesn't view you as a girl that he really wants to be with. I think a lot of people have a very unhealthy view on dating, and they're doing it for the wrong reasons of what can you do for me, instead of thinking also about the fact that you're not the only one in the relationship. There's two of you, and you also have to think about what that other person wants as well and how you can make your relationship as healthy and successful as possible together, right? It's not a one-man rodeo. You're both involved. And just to be transparent with you, I'm hesitant to share my personal experiences because I think people can be very quick to assume things and to judge. I always get a lot of comments regarding this, but I can vividly remember I graduated college. I got my first job. I was making $35,000 and my fiance was making about $45,000. So together, we had a pretty good income. So we would share things and it was fine. He was making a little bit more than me, so he would pay for things a little bit more than I did. And that's how we, figured things out together and worked on that together and made it make sense for us, right? Never once did I feel like because I paid for a meal or, I paid half of our apartment rent so that we could build our wealth together and be successful together, that my fiance didn't care about me or love me or view me as his dream girl because we were splitting costs. It's interesting too because women have progressed so much in terms of education and careers and making more money. There are more women who go to college. There are more women who have college degrees. In many major cities in the United States, women are actually out earning men now. So it's interesting to me, as we've progressed in those areas, we typically still want to be with someone who is at our level or above. And social media paints this picture of, okay, yes, you're this independent boss babe that doesn't need a man, but when the bill comes, he better pay for all of it. That's not really fair, right? I understand that there are double standards in our society, but I don't think it's fair to just cherry pick the things that you're like, yes, support this, and then totally turn a blind eye and ignore it when the check comes. As I've mentioned in many videos before, I also think that social media paints this incredibly unrealistic picture of this very luxurious lifestyle and having all of these luxurious bags and going out to 5-star dinners and, men getting you a Rolex or a Cartier, and while that's wonderful for so many people to have those privileges and to be able to experience those things, it's not the reality for a lot of people. So to get in a video and act like couples who split things are the scum of the earth and peasants isn't really realistic at all. So again, everyone's situation is different. It's not always black and white. We all have different circumstances and situations and, finances going on. So to say that someone splitting costs or going 50-50 is automatically like a horrible thing is just really not logical either. And it's fine to have your own personal opinions and apply that to your relationship. So I do think it's harmful to young women to see content like this and to have these unrealistic standards and expectations for a partner and a checklist of things that they want. And then when they don't understand how unrealistic it actually is and it seems attainable because of social media, it constantly leaves you unhappy and disappointed because you're chasing something that doesn't exist, or that just isn't a personal reality for you. I think we also have to realize just because something is your experience and your reality doesn't mean that that's the reality for everybody. And I know that to be true because the median income is $54,000. And I think it's important when you're in a relationship to have these conversations with your partner and figure out what the best situation is for you too, depending on what you do for work and how much you make. Say your partner makes double the amount that you make. Okay, well, you can still contribute, but maybe just not as much as him, right? It really just depends on your financial situation and how you go about splitting things. If you're both making the same income, don't you think it would be most logical to split things? That way you both have money that you can put towards your savings and investments and grow your wealth together as a couple? Just saying. But I digress. Do what is best for you and your relationship, and just understand that not everything you see on the internet is healthy or productive or advice that you should be following. My goal here is to make dating a little bit happier and healthier for everyone, and we don't do that by setting incredibly unrealistic expectations and standards for someone and not holding ourselves to the same ones, and also being delusional, right? Come back down to earth, see the reality, and understand what you're asking for, right? I think that's healthy and productive for everyone to do. So guys, if you like this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. I would love to hear your thoughts, perspectives, opinions down in the comment section. Would love if you shared your experiences or just your overall opinion on the topic of splitting bills and paying for things and this 50-50 phenomenon and all of that jazz. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.